Hello, brothers of the internet, and today I have a normal BMW 5 Series. Well, this isn't a normal 5 Series completely. It is a M5, if I can show you that badge. I've got it in the most understated colour I could find, which is this kind of silver colour, which is, just screams dad car. Anyway, it's just your typical kind of V10 saloon. Nothing to see here, really. Anyway, it's got 500 horsepower for 100,000. I decided, hey, this is a pretty good car. Pretty good challenger, let's say, for what I intend to build here. Anyway, let's go racing free play. So, the setup I'm going to use, if I can get my head working, we're going to use, just go custom there. We're going to use Spa Francorchamps, and we're going to use 3 laps. Full circuit, so there's only full circuit. So this is what we will be using. And hopefully, I can put up a good fight here. I do need to get rid of the driver tars as well, and then we should be ready to go. So I'll join you at the race. Okay, so here we go in the kind of race, if you can call it that. And it's a race against myself. So back to the interior view. Hopefully I can remember how to shift. And yes, there is a bottom right of the display, as I just seem to forget for some completely random reason. Anyway, that is definitely a V10 sound. And we're making 500 horsepower from a naturally aspirated engine. Actually puts down the power really well, I must say. I was not expecting this. It's only weighted something like 2.5 for cornering. I just wasn't expecting it to put down the power quite so easily. But I'm able to just floor it out of the corner and it grips. That is nice to have. There we go. I mean, I feel like I could have lowered the gear there. Maybe I'll do it in the future. But at the same time, there's no way to be certain. This really does corner though. Far better than I was expecting. It also revs over 8,000 RPM. So not quite as much as some of those Japanese cars of the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, but it does rev. And around here we go. Yeah, this is doing what I would have hoped. It actually makes me scared that whatever I build won't be able to compete with this. Certainly this might even have the power advantage. 500 horsepower for this kind of money is good. Bit of understeer I'm noticing. I can't quite push it as hard as I would like. You see, still went off the course a little, and that was me just trying to be gentle. It's easy to drive, but no doubt there are limits to how much turning I have. Perhaps not helped by the fact we have 10 cylinders in the front of a car that really probably shouldn't. Because, let's be honest, this car is dumb in its layout. I mean, it's fun, but yeah, it's just too much engine, which is only going to increase service costs, sorry. And we don't talk about the reliability. We just don't, okay? It's not something that needs mentioning. There we go. Yeah, I did struggle for grip a little there, but as I say, I'm surprised just how well this is doing. Remember, it is not a light car. Can't even remember exactly how heavy it is, but it's definitely on the heavier side of things. Again, no help by this, not helped by this huge engine. It's something like 5 litres. So obviously not like Viper engine levels of size, but this is not a tiny little engine by any means. Doing a bit of rallycross there. I do feel like I can pick up some speed onto the second lap though. Now I'm getting used to this car. I mean, you'll see here, I still haven't invalidated the lap, so that really speaks volumes of just how easy this thing is to drive. The brakes, they could be better, but they really aren't that bad. Especially, as I say, this is not a light car, so for the brakes to actually be as controllable as they are, that is something. I noticed the lower gears seem to be long, but I'm not going to complain about that too much, as that could be part of the reason it is gripping so well. Slow into this corner. Yes, that was actually nice. I thought I broke a bit late, but it's done okay. Oh dear. Gone a bit wide there, just trying to balance everything out. Maybe here I'll have to... I was going to say not brake. I don't think this car can quite handle that. As I say, it was understeering a little, so I'm going to have to try and brake a little less than maybe my mind intrinsically tells me to, but still, nice into third gear there. That gave us a good build-up of speed. I don't believe I shifted down to third on the first lap. I honestly can't remember. I guess I have short-term memory loss or something, but nonetheless, this is going quite well. So I did under 3 minutes. In and of itself, that doesn't actually sound crazy impressive, but we have to remember, that was the first run. I'm still learning how this car is geared, how it can take corners. Like, I'm noticing I seem to have to go from the outside of a corner to the inside and then to the outside again. That just seems to be the best way to carry speed in this, because it isn't really going to oversteer, even if I try and push it. It's ultimately a car designed for the end user, so they've designed it in a way that most humans could probably actually handle it. Also, it's 500 horsepower, but it's weighed back by all that weight, so we're not going to feel quite like 500 horsepower in a much lighter car. Like, I know the Ariel Atom 500 is perhaps one such example. Not quite 500, but that thing weighs nothing, so it will most likely be quicker than this owing to such a fact. I did almost fly off the course back there. I am really trying to push this, as you'll see. Braking at the right point, I can tell, is going to be imperative to getting a properly good lap time with this, because if I do not brake at exactly the right point, I feel like I'm going to lose speed. You want to brake, I feel, a little late, but not so late, because if you brake so late, the weight will ultimately get the better of you, and you'll fly into the sand trap, or whatever happens to be in front of you. Okay, so we are, I think, picking up some nice speed. I'm sure, like, from what I'm seeing here, it feels like it's overall getting some nice lines through the corners. Nice flow to what it's doing. And, yeah, again, we're going wide at times, but not so much as invalidating the lap times. I'm noticing that the car just likes to swing wide, it seems. And slow down there. Maybe go down a gear. Floor it here. That was my problem for not gripping. I just didn't have it on the right part of the corner. But we are still going faster than the first lap. If I can keep building speed, we're maybe looking at close to a 2:50, which is not bad at all considering. Okay, I'm going wide and I do not like it, and I'm going to just floor it here. Hope the curve doesn't get too much in the way like it didn't, which was really just luck more than anything. I mean, maybe I'm shifting too early, I don't know. I'm basically shifting it when it hits the red line. But I don't know, I don't feel like this is going to be one of those American V8s where, you know, you can go right deep into red line. You see there, it was kind of hitting the rev limiter, and I don't think I even revved it much higher than I normally leave it. Still, we are picking up some good speed, going to 5th gear. And there we go. It's kind of a tricky thing to get the speed out of. Like, this isn't a very easy car to drive, so much so that it surprised me. It truly does. And I just feel like I don't quite know, even now, how to use it. So I know I have to go like in and then out again on the corners, and that's just how it carries speed, but I don't quite understand it. I don't quite understand why it's this way. I mean, I know the understeer comes from just having such a huge heavy engine in the front. I have no doubt something like a diesel V6 would probably a bit lighter on the front, especially if it's a small V6. I mean, again, it might have cast iron in the engine construction and turbos, but there's still a good chance that's lighter than something with 10 cylinders of a 5-litre engine. I mean, I don't know if they had 2-litre diesels. Okay. I know this is invalid. I'll still count the time if it is good, because it didn't feel like that was just the car. That, if anything, that was just me making a small mistake, and I was on the outside, so it's not like I'm going to gain any speed that way. I'll forgive it if it's slightly quicker on this lap for maybe not being the most controllable thing in the world. After all, we are talking about a unmodified car here. Accelerate it. I noticed that sometimes you can just floor it and it actually contradicts the understeer. If only I learned that sooner. It's taken some getting used to know that, but at the same time it is a risk, because sometimes it may not correct the understeer. Sometimes you may just keep understeering, and if I do try and use that to save the car, I don't know. You know, like, I tried it there. As I say, That was a small off. I'm not going to punish the car for that. Just because I went slightly off the course. It was merely me being stupid. Okay. Again there, I don't know. I could recover it or I couldn't. I think this is going to be slower than the second lap, if I am quite honest. Yeah. I've messed up the delivery onto this straight anyway. And as I suspected, the second lap was quicker, just overall cleaner with this car. I tried to push it too hard on the third lap and it didn't play out well. 255 though, I am curious to see how this plays out against the other vehicle you will be using. Okay, so here we have the 5 Series I've just been using. 2009, I actually thought it was slightly more modern than this. Oh, how it feels to be old when this car is already 16 years old and you haven't realised. Anyway, here it is. 100,000 exactly. We've got 500 horsepower, 4,012 pounds. I mean, I usually work in kilos and I don't understand that. One thing I do know, about 2,200 is a ton, and this is massively over a ton. So, we have all these cars. I mean, yeah, that it could be built into something good, but 80 grand? No, it's never going to compete with a BMW with that little money to build it. I have had a look, and it's somewhere around here, I believe, where, yes, here it is, Eagle Talon TSI Turbo. So, this would leave us 61,000 to build with. I've looked at a few other cars. This one I think is the best. So, we've got 197 there, and it's lighter. However, that is rear-wheel drive. So, all this stuff comes into it, remember? And what about the handling? Yeah, better. But this has that one edge. It also has a turbocharger. So, we've got all-wheel drive, and we've got a turbocharger. Think about that. How would I get it to be near as controllable as an all-wheel drive car? There's also things like that. Doesn't make the power, though. I mean, I've had a look. That one, you could probably do something with it, no doubt. But then, could you get these things to the same kind of level? Not a front-wheel drive, certainly not. That one's only cheap because I got the affinity bonus. It's not really counted. And then you see this, like, 205. It's just got very strong power and all-wheel drive and a turbo. I think it's going to be pretty easy to achieve a victory with this. I don't know for certain, I'll be honest. Now, what colour should we have? You know what? I think this standard red is quite nice, so I'll just use this, the two-tone with the black roof. Do quite like it. Now, this is basically a Mitsubishi Eclipse. For reasons beyond my comprehension, the Eclipse is something like 10,000 credits more than this. So, yeah. Now, one thing I'm thinking, not actually changing the wheels themselves. I get it, you might think they're hideous, but they are still alloy wheels, and they are probably good enough. First thing I'm going to do is bigger tyres, because I think I'll need it. 215s I don't think will cope with all the power I fully intend to send through the wheels on this. Here is our standard engine. Now, an engine swap might work, because just look at this. Immediate power. 3 litre V8. I think, like, that's even lighter, so that'll rebalance the car. I was mentioning the Ariel Atom V8. This is the engine from that car. So, I think I'll just double check just these two mods. How much would it cost me? Okay. Very good there. I'm thinking that this may very well be an option, because it makes it lighter. It sounds crazy and dumb, and I love it. I don't know, like, this engine you can upgrade, though, and as I say, it's got a turbo and stuff. You can upgrade this quite well. That's where the all-wheel drive comes in, though. So if I decide to change this engine... Now, remember, the BMW was 2.5 for handling. Just putting street tyres on it can quite easily beat that. Tyres can get expensive, so Sport look like the best. Because we're looking at, like, 1,700 for that, 1,000 for this, 700 for that. I think the best balance is Sport. They'll give me, I think, enough handling to hold off that BMW. But, you know, there's other stuff. So, as I say, I'm not going to actually change the wheels unless I have loads of spare money. We're going to get the carbon ceramic brakes on here. All this stuff that I feel is imperative to making this thing handle like a monster. Also, sport tyres, it's important to remember, this is technically still road legal if I do this. I'll go back to roll cage if I need it. I know it's supposed to improve handling, but I feel that's one of the less essential improvements. So, you know, wheels, they can weigh. Transmission, now, I actually feel, it sounds crazy, but I feel like the standard transmission will do the job. And differential, I feel like, okay, I'll put that on, because I'm not going to be tuning it, but, you know, that is quite an essential part of actually putting the power down. So, what else do we have? I mean, I could go with front and rear aero, that's for sure, I think. So, what are we looking at now for pricing? Just to work things out. So, 35,000, that leaves me with 25 and a bit thousand to finish building this up. As I say, that will actually extend the gears out as well, just owing to the nature of the engine. So, I really don't know though. Oh dear. 62,000. I think I could do that though. I think I could win that. I would just have to change something. Maybe sport brakes instead of race brakes. I really am not certain. But there would be a way to fix that and make it work. The other thing I'm going to try though, before I even consider that, I'm going to go and upgrade a whole bunch of parts on this engine and see how much that would cost me. Because sometimes you can get a lot of performance by just doing this stuff. Camshaft, yeah. The gearing is, I don't know. It's literally, that is basically the definition of how the gearing is. I don't know. So, ooh, we've got a lot of power actually. More than I thought. 580, that is not bad. That will destroy the BMW. 67,500. Okay. So, I think if we look at the stuff we've got. Let's try. Okay, this is just a guess, but yeah, I'm still making more power than the BMW. So how much does this cost me? 62,100. We are getting close. As I say, this is the same as the engine, the other one. What's it called? The aerial atom engine. We have 2506. So it's still lighter, but I think in this case the extra power will be more useful, no doubt. Now, what have we got? We've got displacement. How much power does that take? Quite a bit. I don't think I really want that. The valves. I don't remember the valves adding that much power on anything. So we've got 526. We've got 527. I might actually be best off combining them. But I don't know. 531. Okay, so you know what I think I might do? Just keep checking this. 61,000, a bit too expensive. Okay, so I'll check this over because I really think I have a winning combo here. As I was saying, I'm not going to put the roll cage in. I understand it can improve the car, but we've got a lot of power because of my compromises. Now, we've actually got a really good tier of car here. I just have to really rely on the standard aero being actually pretty decent. I don't think it'll be awful as if we were using a 1970s Volkswagen Golf or something, if there was even a 70s one in the game. Again, that pushes things up too much. I'm going to have to hope with this. Actually, given that puts it up to 207, I don't think the transmission is going to be the issue. I think if anything it's going to restrict it. So I think this is good. I think this is about the best combo I can get for this machine. I just really hope it grips, because I'm not sure if it can grip. So I'll just have a look around it. I am still happy I got to keep the standard engine though, because I guess overall it acts as a good level of proof at what you can do with this. Okay, so let's have a look around our rebranded Mitsubishi Eclipse with far too much power. I mean, I think personally I made the right decisions here to make a fast vehicle. I really can't say for certain if it will beat the BMW. I think, in theory, yes, it should. I've got more power. I believe I've even got less weight, and I've got all-wheel drive. It could always just be out of balance, though, out of rack, because I've thrown so much power through a car designed to handle 210 in, like, the top trim, which it is. And it's not even all-wheel drive in all trims. I believe a lower trim simply were driving the front wheels. No less, it doesn't look great. It looks like a coupe from the early 90s, because that's basically what it is. It actually, you know, crazy as it sounds, just looking at it from this angle, it looks like the new updated Toyota Supra. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone else will see that resemblance, but it's certainly the headlights. I mean, back here, yeah. That wing, it looks like it's trying to imitate that Ford Escort Cosworth, if I'm honest. But, like, they didn't have the money. So it's the kind of Escort Cosworth wing we have at home. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to get this to the race and see how it does. Okay, so it's time to see what the Escort Cosworth we have at home is actually capable of. I mean, I just see those stock wheels and I'm like, how could this possibly be capable of anything? It just looks like a normal car from the 90s. Well, it certainly takes off. I didn't actually bother checking the transmission. I know it's a 5-speed owing to the era and kind of the class of vehicle it is and everything. It will be a 5-speed. I believe the BMW has a 7-speed. But still, you know, because actually in some ways it doesn't seem like the gear ratios are any longer, bizarrely. I mean, they are probably pretty tight, I'll give it that much. Oh, this actually does corner. I was not expecting it to corner this well. That's for sure. Especially considering I missed out bits like the roll cage in order to achieve the incredible power figure that this has. Honestly, I believe this is, within budget, this is actually the best engine for power. Oh, the brakes are maybe not quite so good as I was expecting. I think it's just the rest of the car has you expecting so much that when it doesn't deliver on the power front, when it doesn't deliver on the braking front, you're kind of at a loss for words. Now, this Escort Cosworth we've got at home is kind of capable. I mean, it is understeering a little here. You can actually boot it, though, to balance it, and it kind of works better than it did on the BMW, which I did not expect from an all-wheel drive car. This really does get a move on. I feel like it's a good thing I went with a differential, that's for sure, because I don't know what it's done to the car, but I feel it's made it better. I don't actually feel any problems though from this transmission. I'm not going to deny it, a 6-speed may be able to unlock more speed, but it certainly is quick the way it is. And you can hear the turbo, because you can hear it's got a massive turbo. That's obviously how it's making half the power it's making. No less. This making like 570 horsepower from a car originally making 210. That's no small thing. It probably is to do with the fact it's basically a Mitsubishi Evo engine. Now, the Mitsubishi Evos are known for being tunable, perhaps less so much of a case in these, as after all, it was only the very top trim that even came with all-wheel drive. Is that really any different from the Mitsubishi Lancer, though, which Evo was based on? I believe the lower-end versions of that were front-wheel drive. Yes, I mean, the thing is, as I suspected all along, for what you get, it's actually a very good value for money car, and I mean, how have I even kept this lap valid? I honestly thought it had gone there. I mean, I messed up the gearing, and then there was no power. You kind of have to be in the right gear. I didn't realise it actually before that even happened. And this is certainly not the fastest gearbox in the world. You can kind of sense it's slow at shifting at times. It does the job very much. Like, I'm not going to complain too much about it. The BMW transmission is just faster and it has more gears. I guess the rate of technological progress, and oh my goodness, it's already quicker. 250, and I messed up one of the corners bad. This is just so abnormally quick. I did suspect it would beat the BMW though. I didn't know it would be this controllable and this easy to drive. The only problem I'm seeing, as I say, is the brakes, but then that could equally be attributed to the fact that it's just going so fast. All this power, less weight than the BMW, and it's actually controllable. And the sport tyres are probably helping. I think I mentioned before when I was building it though that you could actually use that as an excuse. Like, this is still technically road legal on these tyres. So, you know. Also, there are compromises I've made that, you know, you won't feel just driving this. Like the wheels. They're not going to be pretty. And I couldn't make them any bigger, as I say, with the money I had. But they do the job. I mean, at least they're not like hideously tiny things. They're not big, but they're enough to pack some brakes into and, you know, pick some speed up. You know, it's like, this is almost the JDM car everyone forgot about, it seems. Ironically, it's not JDM, it's more like ADM, because it's an American domestic market. It was basically an Eclipse to be sold in America, where they also sold the Eclipse. I get it, it's a little odd, but that's just how things are. I think it's because Mitsubishi and Dodge Chrysler had a partnership at the time, something like that. So they could basically get a Mitsubishi, and maybe in reality it was a lot cheaper than the Eclipse, but I somehow don't see that being the case. And there's me getting lost in thought and forgetting to shift properly. And notice I'm not really using the higher gears. This thing will supposedly do something like 200 miles per hour. So, you know, naturally the gearing is long enough. To consider though this is a standard transmission in a car from having 210 horsepower, and the transmission somehow works at this level, I don't know, it's beyond my comprehension if I'm entirely honest. Now, if I had no budget, there would be things I would change. I most likely wouldn't go with the... what do you call it, the standard engine. I'd most likely stick something else in. Also, I would probably not upgrade the camshaft if I could help it, because the camshaft does mess with the RPMs and naturally it stretches out the gears. It does also mean you have to kind of shift earlier. How is this going so fast? I mean, I know I built it to beat the BMW, but it's not just beating the BMW, it's outright murdering it in daylight. The only problem, besides like the brakes not quite being as good as I would like them to be, it's just the gearing is long. But then, since I'm using an older gearbox from the 90s, I guess I don't really have a right to complain about such a fact. Okay, so that was 4th gear, highest I've got. Honestly though, I don't know if I got above 4th gear in the BMW. If I did, it would not have been for very often at all. This gearing does just feel more optimised, whereas the BMW, it feels like the gearbox was set up equally to at least extract a little economy from that V10. But to think of this destroying the BMW, it's something else when you consider I've only got 4 cylinders and probably something like 2.4 litres of displacement. So we're talking not half the size of a BMW engine, and it's doing this. No doubt the all-wheel drive is helping with the grip. I would feel like 255s on the back and rear-wheel drive, this thing would probably be struggling. Same case with front-wheel drive, but all-wheel drive kind of gives it traction that otherwise wouldn't be there. At least drive traction. Like, front-wheel drive cars, sure, they can have incredible grip around the corner, but you're strictly talking about half or even less of that grip that you actually get to use for putting the power down. Still, I do want to go wildly quick with this. Yeah, I don't think it's capable of it. I mean, I somehow don't think I'm going to beat the second lap. Same with a BMW. I just feel like I pushed it hard enough there, and I'm only going to go downhill from there. Mind you, having said that, I think this is actually easier to control than the BMW. There's times where you can tell it's a smaller car and it's not meant for the same kind of market segment as that, but it certainly is competing. And it feels actually, from a performance perspective, this feels like it's well worth the extra money. Or extra money over stock, that's for sure. I get it, it's not the most expensive car in the world. It's actually slightly cheaper than the Beamer, and wow, I'm going even quicker. Okay, what's the time? Yeah, 46. 2:46. I don't even have to tell you that's quicker than the BMW. I beat it by something like 8 seconds. That's no small amount. This car is a complete monster. I actually feel like I've been unfair on the BMW. But I am going to try more expensive still cars. Perhaps find something for about 200,000 credits. See how that compares to another car. Not as cheap as this, but perhaps something that's maybe 80,000, 70,000 kind of credits. See what I could do, because I feel there maybe the difference would be harder to discern. After all, the Eagle Talon is an absurdly quick example of such a car for the money. And here we go. The Escort Cosworth we had at home that goes destroying German cars for fun. Who would have guessed? I mean, just look at the thing. It looks kind of cheap. For lack of a better term, this does not look like an ultra expensive car. You can see, just look at those bumpers and stuff. They're not covered in chrome or anything of that nature. And no doubt I feel the BMW would have a better interior. Like, just look at this. The BMW had some nice silver trim and everything. This is just plastic. No doubt, if you just want to go fast, who cares about any of that? This is a monster. So I'm going to leave it here for today. I wish I could open the bonnet and show the 4-cylinder, but I can't. So I'm going to say goodbye until another day.